Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Game Development Log video diary, and this week I've been doing a lot more work on multiplayer combat. So what I had to do with combat this week was to get the server to calculate whether an attack had successfully hit any enemies, and if it had, to then calculate how much damage the attack would do. So I spent a lot of time this week planning out an efficient way of finding nearby enemies and testing them for collision with the attack. So I set up a big complicated system on the server which could handle things like this, and then I started implementing the actual collision calculations for the different attack types. So far I've only actually done the calculations for the simple melee attacks, but I'm hoping to finish off the other attack types over the weekend. To calculate whether an enemy should get hit by a melee attack, the server first tests whether the enemy is within the general range of the attack, and the range value here depends entirely on the attack that is being carried out. It then tests whether the enemy is actually in front of the player, and finally the server tests whether the enemy is within a certain field of view of the attacker, and this angle here varies depending on the attack. So the area of effect of a simple melee attack looks something like this, although the exact shape will vary from attack to attack. I originally tried using this slightly simplified version here, but it didn't feel quite right in the game because your attacks would often miss players that were very close to you unless you were pointing directly at them, and that just felt rather frustrating. But this slightly more complicated version is now a lot more lenient when it comes to hitting nearby players, and it just feels a lot nicer and a lot less frustrating as the attacker. So the next step was to then calculate the damage caused by the attacks based on the stats of your player, the stats of the equipment that you're using, and of course your enemy's stats and equipment. So in order for this to work with mobs as well, I had to add a new component to the entity editor, which is the stats component, which allows me to set all of the combat stats for a certain mob. The server then uses all of these different player stats, equipment stats, and also the stats of the attack that's being used to calculate the damage. So here you can see that different attacks do different amounts of damage. If I put on some better equipment and use a better weapon, I can do a lot more damage, and if the other player here wears some better armour, then my attacks do a lot less damage. As well as all that networking stuff, I also added Anisotropic Filtering this week, thanks to a suggestion left in the comments of the last devlog. This helps to improve the quality of textures that would usually be blurred by MIP mapping. So this is what it looks like without Anisotropic Filtering, and this is what it looks like with Anisotropic Filtering, obviously a big improvement. And finally, I've been filming my progress every single day this week for the behind the scenes devlog video that is going to be coming out tomorrow. The video will be around 15 minutes long I think, and it will show pretty much everything that I did this week in a lot more detail. So if that's something that might interest you, then you can give that a watch tomorrow evening. For this video though, that is it for this week. Next week I'm going to be finishing off the multiplayer support for the other attack types, and then I'm going to be moving on to working on some visual effects. Don't forget to follow me on any of my social media pages for more updates about the game during the week. Links are in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time.